scholarship tips and application, and we'll be hearing from the team as a group. We'll be talking about this, and also other people that are here, feel free to also contribute about your experience. I think Batty too have a very good experience. She can also tell us a bit about it. But we want to keep it on time, which is 30 minutes. And if you know me, I'm a good timekeeper. I will try to moderate the speakers to stay within the time frame. So I don't know who wants to go first between Zachary and Monday. So which of you wants to go first? You have 10 minutes to answer my questions, and then the remaining 5 minutes will be for question and answer from anyone in the team or in the group that wants to ask questions. So who wants to go first between Zach and Monday? I kind of waited. Are you scared to go first?
All right, I can go first.
Oh, great.
I was actually talking. I didn't know my mic was mute. It's okay.
Yeah, but right. Only just want to go first, no problem.
No. I was actually saying maybe we can go together like that, but it's okay.
Okay.
Depending.
Okay. Okay. So, I think the first question, but this thing, I was in a rush to put up this slide, so that's why everything is displayed. Normally, I use animations so they could display one at a time, but notwithstanding. Okay, so your time will start now. Zeg, your time starts now. So the first question we want to know is, what's the most important step students should take when starting their scholarship search?
Yeah, okay. I think one important thing I advise anyone to take when starting a scholarship search is first of all is I think also trying to get in touch with your colleagues is very important because for me, in my own experience, is one thing that really helped me in scholarship application. For example, when I was doing my service here at Uni Loring, before I got scholarship to AUST for my master's in Abuja, one thing that helped me there was being in touch with one of my colleagues. I don't know if you know this guy also in maths, David Omogbe.
Yes, I know.
Okay. Yeah, he was the one that actually linked me up because I was trying to apply for AIMS in South Africa by then, but I and Chineye was actually in touch applying for AIMS in South Africa, but I could not get, but Chineye got. And so I had to be also in touch with David, and then I didn't even know there was also an international school also like that in Abuja. So it was David that actually told me about it, and I applied and also got the scholarship also at AUST in Abuja also. So I think keeping in touch with the right person is also very important. And also, and after my master's also, I was also in touch. David left AUST, he moved to Austria for his PhD also. And I was in touch with him, and that was how he helped me also, and also people I also worked with at AUST. So for me, I think try to build that collaboration with your colleagues, and then it helps while searching for scholarships.
I totally agree with you, Zach. Really, I think networking with your colleagues help. I also remember, for me, someone told me about Pan-African University while I was
that reminds me also, you also
serving.
helped me also during my Pan-Africa also.
Yes,
I remember when you told me about applying for Pan-Africa, but I think I did not complete my application because I was waiting for Kumleng to send me a letter by then, so I could not meet up with the date. That was why I did not complete my Pan-Africa by then also. So networking is very important for me. I think that's one key area for anyone that's searching for scholarship.
I totally agree. Okay, so the second question, can you share a personal story about the scholarship application that went well or didn't, and what you learned from it?
Okay, yes, I think there was one that didn't happen for me, but I learned a lot from it. That was before I got this one.
Mm,
I applied for a scholarship in Belgium,
mm,
and in fact, that was in I think in 2021. Yes, so
okay.
I applied and I did everything necessary. I submitted every document they wanted from me, even down to recommendation letter. I was able to get from my professors. They were willing to help me. But
Mm,
I would say that I had like, let's say 90% confident I was going to get that scholarship.
wow.
So while my friend was telling me also about this, the program also in Slovakia, I was just I was just too confident that the one in Belgium was going to work out. So I didn't even bother myself to apply.
Wow.
So but at the end I just received usual love letter from the scholarship applications that it wasn't successful. I felt very bad,
Mm,
and
mm,
and then my friend reached out to me. By then, that of Slovakia has ended by then.
wow.
So they were like, okay, they had this extra window that okay, even though you didn't apply the first time, you can still go ahead and apply. So I just went ahead and then I applied for that of Slovakia and also kind. So when I got to Slovakia, when I was like, okay, I was able to forget that of Belgium, but I felt very bad when I didn't forget because
uh,
I had so much confidence in with
mm,
my application process, and I was so relaxed I was going to get it, but, but, but that's just how it is. But aside that,
wow.
also I also had
Mm,
aside that I've been applying. So our advice, my own advice to people that want to apply is just keep applying because
mm,
you will not apply the first time and think maybe it will work out for you. Just keep applying because I would say if I had to count the number of applications that I actually did, it was much. It was much. But even if it didn't work out, that didn't stop me from applying. I was still
mm,
applying. I was still
mm,
applying, and
mm,
I was still doing my best. And then, but for every time I apply, I see, okay, there are some errors maybe in my application that will
mm,
help me
mm,
to correct them in the next
mm.
application. And so that's one thing I learned also from my applications that did not work out well for me.
Wow. Yeah, I think you really, really said it's like a similar story to me. There was this notion that we used to have before now that, oh, because I had first class, it's going to be an expressway for me. But I
Yeah.
discovered it's not true.
Hmm.
Somebody with second class upper can easily get a scholarship if they have the right like it's just like you go to the market to sell your goods. The person that convinced the customer, they'll go for it even if the goods is inferior to the other one that has and doesn't have the persuasive power. So I was also frustrated at some point because I was submitting a lot of application and some like Commonwealth, for example, you have to get admission and all that. At some point, I think I was having up to like three admission, but I didn't have the funding. And I made up my mind like I have to go to UK. That was just what's on my mind. I have to do the masters in Europe. I don't want anything Africa, like stuff like that. But then I noticed that it's not true. You have to just spread your net. Anyone
Exactly.
that turns out fine, you go for it. Because
Exactly.
it's just
Exactly.
like when you go fishing, you don't know the right fish you're going to catch out of the seas or water or something. So you just keep searching. So, yeah, you said the right thing. I totally agree. You don't have to apply on one application and then you stop.
Yeah.
Just keep applying because you don't know which one is going to turn out fine. So I think the next question I want us to ask you is how can students make their application stand out to scholarship committees?
Wow. Wow. Well, I think for your application to stand out, I think for one that is applying for a PhD position, scholarship, I would say try have some publication to be doing your masters. It really helps. It really helps. And with that research experience, it will help you for your PhD application a lot. So for me, I think try have some publications, because research experience really counts a lot when applying for PhD. It really counts a lot. It really counts a lot. So that's, for me, that's one thing I would say stand out for committee in terms of for PhD application. But for masters, well, I can't say much on that.
Okay, I think to help Zach out, one of the things, because I've been privileged to sit since I came to the UK on some of this selection committee. I think one of the things we are looking at, like this, Zach said, is for at PhD level, is that publication. Do that person have that research capacity to be able to, achieve? Because this, or not, is time bound. And we're looking at the feasibility of the person. Can that person be able to do something meaningful within that 3 years, 4 years time period? Then for the masters, I think your grade is very, very important for the masters. Most of the time, at master level, most times you're going to do courses and all that. So one of the things really they'll be looking at is your undergraduate transcript. Do you have like a 2-1? Do you have like a first class? I think your grade is very, very important. Then another thing again, you look out is the recommendation that that person have. Does that person put up a very good recommendation? What are the professors that know that person? What have they written about the person?
Exactly. I think I agree with you on that, Sumi, concerning recommendations. Recommendations also are very, very important. Because I will share the experience of what my friend David Omogu actually told me concerning when he got his scholarship for PhD in Austria. It was his recommendation that actually helped him, because the professor that actually recommended him was is one of the top professors in Africa, Professor Kali Ezembe. He's a Moroccan. So also it was because in AUST most of their lecturers are from, top professors all over Africa and the world. They invite them to come there to take lectures. So he was one that recommended David, and David actually told me that recommendation alone was what helps him to get that scholarship.
Wow. I think another thing also is the personal statement of the student. Most of the time when you are applying, we are looking out for in the personal statement, mostly what we are looking at, like your passion, your interest, what are the kind of things that moved you. Then another thing we're also looking at the kind of research you'll be, because you want to start, your master's is like the first stone you put, to build that research part or career that you want to become. So your personal statement really reflects a lot about your kind of person. So most of the time I tell students now, make sure you write a very good personal statement. You don't need to start, personal statement and making it so ambiguous, because I've seen personal statement where somebody will be telling us about his childhood, how he came from. No, I think the major thing is your capacity to solve problems. That's what we are really looking at. And you will find your capacity to solve problems from your area of interest. You have to, tell us what you can do. For example, there is a rising issue on insecurity in Nigeria. There is a rising issue on inflation or climate change. These are key areas. So are you really looking out to become a leader that will address some of these problems that the world is facing? So, and again, from your personal statement, it will really show the path you want to take in life. Remember, the Bible's had a word that said, "The way a man thinketh in his heart, so he is." So that personal statement like introduce your thoughts to us to be able to evaluate you on that fact that is this person really going to contribute to the wider society tomorrow? What are the kind of areas or problem that this person have identified that he or she really wants to address, and stuff like that. So when you're writing that personal statement, always look at it from what you can do for your world, not what the world can do for you, or what you can do for your society, and not what the society should do for you. There is this entitlement mentality that a lot of people have. You remember what I said earlier on about first class? Someone feel because I have a first class, I should be given that scholarship. No, you can have a first class without a direction. So you shouldn't feel entitled. Rather, when you come, they say he that comes to equity must come with a clear head or something. So you're kind of coming to tell us what you want to. You're selling yourself. So that first class is a good point to make, but it shouldn't be your rallying point, you know. So I think that's one thing I could say about the master's own. Then undergraduate, I think for undergraduate, I think it's basically your transcript because I was privileged to have federal government scholarship doing I think 300 level. So I didn't get the MTN scholarship I went, but in all the scholarship, the people I knew that got those scholarship in our undergraduate period were all people in doing very well academically. So I think undergraduate they focus more on the academic, and then sometimes they also look at gender equality. They have to balance some of these things because sometimes women are very underrepresented in some of these areas. So they give some sort of a push to the girl child. And then your transcript is very important for the undergraduate. So make sure your 100, 200 level, you perform very well. Then you could aim for those ones. So I think that's what we could say of that. So let's quickly move. We're running out of time. So let's move to the next question. What's one common mistake applicants make that is easy to avoid?
Okay, I think one common mistake there is when writing your personal statement. I mean, it's not right to write a personal statement that is too long, too much. I mean, I don't think if you're writing a personal statement, it should be something that you should make sure everything is concise within one. I don't have like a personal statement of 3-4 pages. Nobody have the time to read that much. And also your CV, you should know, like you're submitting your CV. Also, it should be something that you should have a CV that for a scholarship CV, it should be that of different from when you're applying for a job or something else. So for me, these are things one should avoid also when applying for programs like this. Yes.
Yeah, that's very true. Like you said, yeah. I another thing I also think that most students make is most of them they tend not to prepare very well before looking at the scholarship. So they need to read. I always tell people that one of the problem we have in Africa is this reading issue. That is postdoc stuff. So anything that has to do with my postdocs that I need, I could just go to that folder and pick. And there are folders that I put and say these are my PhD stuff. Then for my master students, I had a folder that said this one's is for master stuff. So anytime I need any information about my master's students, I could just go there and pull it out and then I look at it. So be well structured and organized in the way you do your thing so you could avoid some of those mistakes. Then another very mistake that is avoidable is do not lay your egg in one basket. Like Zach said, don't just apply one and then you stop and say you're confident. No, throw out the application, apply as much as you can, and then anyone that turns out fine, you go with it. All right. So I think the last question is, if you had one piece of advice for students feeling overwhelmed by the process, what would that be?
My own advice is don't feel don't feel inferior when applying, because sometimes you have a 2-1 and then you think because of your 2-1 or 2-2 you will not be able to get the scholarship. It's not so. Just apply. Just apply. For me, just apply. First class is good, 2-1 is good, 2-2 is good, but just apply. Once you see an advert for a scholarship and you have the means to apply, go ahead and do it. Don't feel that your results will be something that might hinder you not to get it. It's not always so. There are people that have applied scholarship with first class student and 2-1 gets it, not the first class. Yes.
And really, I think at international level, really, they do consider the qualification. But like I said, your interest is very, very important. It's really if your interest, for example, align with what I'm doing as a supervisor, I will naturally be drawn towards you because it shows that when you get that, you will do it. Because one of the things I learned from the stay across my research experience and all that is that if someone is doing something that he's passionate about, you don't coerce that person. It flows like it's a natural thing for that person. So don't be looking at, you are applying scholarship, you're looking at how much will you be paid, would they be paying you for stipend and all that. No, just forget about all those things. Just look at it that you really want to solve a problem that is confronting humanity. Be looking at it from the point of your contribution. Any other thing will follow. Don't dwell much on the package and all that, which of course is important, but it shouldn't be what is moving you. Some people just want to escape this African, Nigerian stuff. They just want to japa and all that. No, don't be like that. You should japa with a plan. Have a roadmap about what is driving you in life. So at the end of the day, you could stand back and evaluate and say, this is where I am and this is where I'm going. So thank you, Zach. Really, it's quite a very interactive section. I've learned a lot. From it. So I think quickly I'm going to give room for before I go to the second speaker, I'll give room for 1 or 2 questions, then we move to the second speaker. So in the audience, do anyone have a question for Zach? So I think our explanation. Okay, great. So I think our explanation is very clear. So let's thank you, Zach. Really, I learned a lot from your explanation. It's quite interactive. Thank you. So let's move to the second speaker, Monday. So Monday, are you ready?
I know.
Okay, good. So let's start from the first questions. Okay, I forgot to ask Zach about what he's working on and all that, but it's fine. Maybe the next round we'll talk of that at the same time. So what's the best way to prepare for a strong scholarship essay that reflects a student authentic voice?
All right, thank you very much for this opportunity. And I actually want to recommend or comment my colleague Zachary. And then there was something I got before I could go straight to my question. I could express this also while the last discussion was going on. Is the fact that failure is not a dead end. And it's like Zachary could have got so much experience and more to say because he has failed so much in so many applications, because sometimes he has shared with me personally about his frustrations and all of that. So he has learned so much and all of that. But when whereas my case is quite a very different and unique one. I have applied for just one scholarship, and that's what I get.
Really? Wow. So
My
you
first
didn't really have the strength, the
My
experience.
first scholarship is also, if you ask me what did they do wrong, what did they do wrong, they didn't tell me anything I did wrong, so I wouldn't really know what they did wrong.
Interesting. Wow. Wow.
So that's just the way it went for me. So, by the way, so what's the best way to prepare a strong scholarship essay? Yeah, like in my case, like I said, I didn't have so much experience, but I believe I prepared a very strong essay that was able to convince my potential supervisor, and then he actually hired me. But the fact that I was able to actually consult other essays that were written by other people to see their presentations on how they presented their words and their points. And then I learned from that, and then I presented my points too by talking about myself, how I did my undergraduate study, what I did in my undergraduate studies, and my interest, what spurred my interest in my master's program, and what I did in my master's program. And then, funny enough, what I did in my master's program is in line with what I'm applying for in the PhD study, which I connected it, how that I am passionate about that. And then I also presented the results of what I did in my master's program, and then my passion to continue with that research. And I was able to convince my supervisor. When my supervisor got my email, the way he replied my email was that, "Hey, Monday, I received your email, and I want to let you know that I am strongly interested in your application."
Wow.
Yes, I'm interested in your application. And funny enough, he didn't have, there was no space again at the time because it was full up. And then he had to do some workout around it and then connected with his colleague. His colleague that invited me for him. And then I'm working with him. So because he was already thrilled with the fact that, I am coming to do the same thing I've done in my master's, and I was able to present my points of what I did and how passionate I am about what I want to do again. So I think you should be able to sell yourself in your essay and all of that, in your proposal and the write-up. And then I was able to sorry, I think I missed 2 points here together. You must be able to another thing again. I think why I'm saying I missed 2 points together is I think I deviated a bit from having a proposal and then a motivation. You will I was able to also present in the proposal, in the scholarship proposal, to make them understand what I want to come and do. I was able to also present existing problem, and in the proposal I did, I actually referenced myself because I already have 2 articles in that line, and I made reference to my article. And then I judge my own article. I judge the limitation in my article, which I'm going to continue to work upon again when I resume when I'm offered the opportunity. So it was a good for me. Yeah.
Wow. I totally agree with you. I remember one of the things that I did when I was applying for my PhD, I eventually got my PhD was okay, yeah, what grade do I really mention? I can't really remember what I've written, but I knew I was very honest, and I expressed myself about my passion to continue my career in area of data science. So when I was invited, because in my PhD, there's the first section, selection process where if your qualification and everything is okay and you're selected, you move to the second round. The second round is where you do the exam, which is oral for PhD. So during the oral discussion, I think the question they asked me was basically to know my experience around the area that I want to venture into. So they talk about data science, if I have done anything relating to AI. So I told them that yes, I have used support vector machine in area of food security that I try to model. So that being said, I talk about my paper. They now said, okay, can I tell them about the paper? And then I told them about the paper. And then I now said I really wanted something, in that line. And, but one thing I noticed was while I was having that interview, they were quite excited talking with me. So after the interview, I told my nephew that what's wrong with this people? This is quite happy and excited talking with me. But I didn't put my mind, I didn't even think about it. So I didn't being honest is very, very important. For example, you could imagine in my own case, my interview, I did it with singlet, because Lagos was very hot that period. So I couldn't really use, I know I could have dressed decent, but you could imagine how shabby I was dressing. I could imagine if it's Nigeria, automatically that's a no-no. They will just roll it out. But they listened to me. They were so excited about it. And, by the time I came to Italy, the welcoming I received, the whole thing, and, the people that I got to talk with, I was quite excited and helped me to quickly settle in. So try to be honest in your essay. Don't try to fabricate things because most of the time students want to fabricate stuff that they didn't, they're not sure of. Just be very, very plain. Don't try to make yourself look like the big man in the room and then eventually when you come, you don't meet expectations. No, just sell yourself, talk about what you have done, like Monday said, and let everything just flow. Just be yourself when you're writing those things. Okay, thank you, Monday, for that wonderful answer. Let's look at the second question. How important are extracurricular activities or volunteer work in scholarship applications, and how should students present them?
Well, thank you very much. Like you said, in application, you must also in applying in pursuing a scholarship or an academic program, it should be about what you want to offer to the community and not about what you will be getting. Just what you be getting. So I also believe that in having extracurricular activity like leading community service, also prove to your panel or your examiner that you have a focused pursuit beyond the regular curriculum, academic curriculum, and then you are dedicated to creative pursuit and academic achievement beyond a standard curriculum, and then that will improve your chances of getting the admission. Like someone who has a complete academic the complete requirements for academic for the scholarship. You also have the complete requirement for academic, and you have an extracurricular activity. It tells your examiner that you are more you have leadership skills. You can engage with your community. You have that. Especially countries are not looking for people who are coming to just eat, but this guy can affect our community positively and. Like one of the things one of the things that got me related with where I work in Nigeria to my dean, of course, community service is a requirement for promotion in the academic system. So he realized that I have these organizations, like I told you about teenager, and then he just saw my post somewhere, and then he invited me to his office, and then carried me. You deal with young people, you can actually contribute to their life. Can you? Yes. I have organized this thing. Can you join me in? Just imagine if my professor was going to hire a PhD student now. And two of them, one had this skill I have now. He will want to hire me because he will believe that I will contribute to his STEM club. So I believe that. And then so when you apply for these things, when you apply, you have to present what you've done, your commitment, and what you have learned. Like my CV, my organization is always there. The fact that I lead the team and what we offer to the society, what we offer to young people and the leadership and all of that we create. So if a potential supervisor sees that, this guy, beyond his academic pursuit, he can also concentrate on something else to contribute to the society and still pursue his academics. I think that's the need. So I have...
Monday, I totally agree with your point. One of the things that a lot of people don't really understand is that, like I made emphasis earlier on, that don't focus on the package, like, oh, what stipend I'm going to be paid. And no, your focus really should be on solving societal problem. Because we have a lot of problem, like Monday highlighted in Africa right now. There, when you look at it, there is a lot of emanating issues. And in the midst of these issues, there are tremendous opportunities. So how do we, in one way or the other, a lot of people will say, but I'm not a politician, I'm not this, but you see, does society have a way that makes us to feel that the burden or solution should lie with the government? But throughout history, we have seen that government never really solved the problem of society. It is individuals that rise up to solve these issues. So when you look at it in your little way, how are you trying to elevate or solve a particular problem? So just like Monday created a particular organization to reach out to young people, you can begin to also think about some of these activities. What kind of activities are you doing to reaching out to people? It's not really about the money, because most of the time people will talk about 1001 reasons why they don't want to set up these things because of funds. But I'm telling you, when you start these things, you don't know where it's going to stop. The impact will go a long way. So it really helps to shape you. And when you are coming to that nation, to that country, you are not just coming to study alone. And no, you have to also focus, diversify, meet other people, create that network. That helps you to build a team. Like we are saying, you could see Zed talking about how his scholarship, he reached out to some of his colleagues and all that. I think it was yesterday I was talking, and I was saying to someone that, look, I have classmates all over the world. So any country now that I go to, I think I will find one or two of my classmates. And I'll be very happy to connect with them. In Pan Africa, I meet people from Zimbabwe, from Zambia, from I think all the parts of Africa, Cameroon and the rest. So today, if I'm going to those places, I could easily connect with those people. So always look at that impact that country. And I remember when I was in Kenya, I didn't just stop and say it's just to school. No, I was, mixing up with this. I was watching some of the picture where we go for picnics and, some other things, hiking and the rest. We create this sort of a platform where we could all relate with each other. I could tell them about some of the culture in Nigeria. They too could learn some of the things, and even if possible, some of the Nigerian food as well. I tell them. So creating that platform where you could be able to relate with people, always think that the world is more like a global village. So even if you don't physically do those things, you can virtually create activities and invite people. And in time, when the world see what you are doing, everybody will be happy to join. Thank you, Monday, for that answer. So let's quickly move to we are racing against time. What role do recommendation letters play, and how can students ensure they get strong ones?
Oh, I think my colleague, my friend Zachary, I think touched also on it briefly when he spoke. I think the role scholarship plays, I think he mentioned and talked about his colleague, but I think what I will talk about now is how can students ensure they get a strong one? A recommendation letter does not just fly from the air, and you cannot recommend a stranger. It's from your day-to-day relationship with people, and that is what the recommendation is all about. So you have a colleague, you have a teacher, a professor you're working with from your undergraduate. He'll be able to present yourself good enough that he can attest for your character when you need it. Because when somebody is recommending you, he's putting himself on a stake that I know him and I can vouch for him. When I got my recommendation letter. Both I got my recommendation from my HOD in the office and then from my supervisor who supervised me directly. If I was not, when my supervisor, when I defended my master's thesis in the university, he was so happy because I made him so proud, and that even the chairman of the defense committee came and shook hands with me that actually killed the defense. And then when I came, my supervisor's head was so big. He was like the most biggest boy in that defense committee that day because I was his student and I was the one that killed the defense. The moment we came to his office, we went for lunch, and he now told me, Monday, well, come and pick your PhD form with me, and I want to supervise you again in PhD. And I said no. So I want to go. So when I had a need for recommendation, he was so happy to recommend me. In fact, he wrote about everything, how I was serious, how I was mentally stable, how I could do the research. Like he poured, like you could see how a father could pour his heart on a child. He poured his heart in that letter for me. So what I'm trying to say is that when you have an opportunity to work with somebody, be able to sell yourself, so that when you need him to really tell something about you, he can tell something positive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I fully agree with you. I remember, for me, one of the professors I was very close to in my undergraduate was Professor Kenby, and later I think he became the vice chancellor for Benue State University. But I remember I was kind of close to him, not because he was from Benue, but because he was I think the major player in statistics in 400 level, and then I was the class rep. But then when he comes around, I make sure the place he will stay, because he has to book hotel whenever he comes from Benue for the period he will stay to teach us. I'll make sure I go out, check for those things. After that, I'll make sure I stay back, help him with some stuff, help him with marking. So we created that relationship with him. Even he was the one that told me first and said, you need to start having publication since you want to go for master's, PhD, and the rest. Start preparing. So from my 400 level, he had put it inside me that I need to start writing paper. So the moment I graduate, it was more like a follow-up. And then when I was contemplating about going for my master's in Kenya, he was one of the strong person. In fact, he gave me the money for my visa, to sort out the visa process. He was really, really strongly behind me. He was like, I really want you to go for this and all that. And even when I came back um, for my from my PhD, during my PhD, when I came back from Italy, I got some stuff, some wine, just to go and greet him. I came around, we bonded again, we took time, and he was so happy to see me. So I think creating that relationship, for example, I plan to go to Italy in the coming months. And once I get there, I will go around, see my PhD supervisor, get to talk with him and have a good catch up, and also to see how to create future collaborations with him. So don't just dump people, because there are lots of students that feel I don't need these lecturers, I don't need this person. No, don't do that. You will need them one way or the other. So try to keep them in sight, and then you continue building that relationship with them. I remember when I came to Benue State University for lecturing, sorry, job interview or something. One of the person that was really, really behind me was a lecturer I met in University of Jos when he was doing his PhD, and through Professor Celestina introduced me to him, and then since then we got to relating with him. So when I came for that job interview there that time, he made sure he he was involved in the whole process to make sure that nobody victimized me and all that. And he was really, really holistically involved. But unfortunately, I couldn't go for it because before the application comes out, I was already out of Nigeria. So I got, and I keep in touch with him till today. I don't say, oh, because I'm now also a PhD holder, I'm now in academics. No, I make sure I relate with this person. Stay humble. Don't feel you don't need these people. Continue to keep them in your radar, and also continue to reach out to them once in a while. So they can always be happy to recommend you, like Monday said. Then another thing I need to also say is that just like Zach made emphasis, you apply these things more like a lot of times. Most times you wouldn't have the time to keep going back to them each time to write the recommendation for you. So sometimes what you could do, you could ask them for an editable version of this recommendation letter so that you could recycle it. And then if it means for them to help you to submit it from their official email, they can now help you to submit it, but you don't have to keep going over over and over again, because most times they don't really have the time to keep doing that. So you can have one version they have written for you, and then you could always be recycling it for your next application. Okay, lastly, Monday, what's the one thing you wish you know when you were applying for scholarships?
Yeah, maybe I wish I started applying early so that I would have gotten so much experience. Perhaps. And then another thing was that when the Zachary talked about the AUST stuff, I remember when those time I saw the advert, but I wasn't really collaborating on that. I wasn't asking anybody like he said. I just saw the advert. I see the advert was 10,000. I just ignored it. I just ignored it. It was when Zachary told me after I spoke with Zachary says in AUST. I said, AUST, I saw that thing when they were applying. Now, is this scholarship? Is it real? I said, I didn't know. So it's real. He said, no, yes. He said, and then thank God I got to Unijust eventually. So I went to Unijust the organic way, paid for my schools and did everything. So I wished I was collaborating with him earlier. And then Zachary too. But then I learned from it. Me and Zachary were talking very often, and then thank God when he got here before me. Of course, he was the one that gave me the link to this place. So because we were now collaborating and all of that, he was able to give me the guide and encouragement and everything that I needed, and I got it. So I wish I knew I could collaborate earlier. I could reach out to my colleague earlier on the need for scholarship and all of that. So that was it.
Yeah, you're right, Monday. I think a lot of people they don't really know these things. They feel it is for a group of elite students or something.
Yeah,
without
that's what I
knowing that
felt. Sorry, I
everybody
felt that I didn't have first class. I wasn't a first class holder, so I believe it was for first class. Those guys, first class things and all of that. I said,
yeah.
I was just there on my own. So, I didn't know another thing.
That's true. I always tell John that he should not feel that way. You know, when I started telling him, I said, don't feel like that. Because when I came back to Nigeria in 2021, when I came around, asking all this while, I said, why? Why do you even have to lose contact with me in the first place? You have to keep contact so I could keep, speaking to you and telling you some of these things. So there is always that relaxation from students that, oh, these things are for no, you just, and then sorry, another question was, what are the lesser known scholarship opportunities you would recommend students to explore? Monday? Okay, I think we lost Monday there.
Can you imagine that I've been talking since and my mic was off?
Oh, really?
I have already finished. I thought I finished my message already.
Okay, sorry. So what are the less known scholarship opportunities you will recommend that students should explore?
Okay, like I think I sent a link for this school sometime, because this school is always people don't really know about it. And whereas I recommended one of my colleagues again from Unijust to one of our professor recently, and she was even appreciating me for recommending a student for her.
Wow.
Because yes, finally appreciating me, and then she interviewed the student, and then she asked the student to go ahead to apply. She was happy. So
really?
Sometimes some of these professors, they are looking for. I was also with Zachary saying, look, they are looking for PhD students, but PhD students are somewhere looking for them, and it's difficult. So that is why I appreciate this platform you are creating so much, because it will bridge the gap. And as much as I see, I think I've sent a link to this for this university here before, and as we see, I will say. And then I think again in Russia, I think I have one of my friends in Russia for master's scholarship, where Russia gives scholarship for masters. And students thrive in the environment. I connected with some of my friends. I have a friend there who I recommended a younger friend to her to direct the last time. Unfortunately, he didn't get the admission. So that's for master too. And maybe I'm still in touch. I will always in touch. If once the application window starts, I will recommend it on the group also, so that we can see how it's. But for here, master scholarship is not around here. I think those are the two I know for now. And as time goes on, we will be checking it out and be pushing it in. Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
you're right, Monday. I think most of the time, like when I got to Italy, I was very shocked to see Nigerian students were very minimal. I noticed it was more of French speakers, people from Congo, DRC, Congo, Brazil, um, people from the French-speaking countries. Then a few of Ghanaians. I also meet them in Italy, but the Nigerian students coming through that route were so small. So it was when I came, I really started talking with people. I said like it seems Nigerians are not aware. Nigerians seems to focus more on the English speaking countries like US, UK, Austria, and all that, without knowing that there are so many European countries where they could get good scholarships, and in fact at PhD level, most of these institutions they teach in English, So yes, he talks about Zambia as well, So most of the time, the English speaking countries in Africa, they focus on these English speaking nations, in the West, instead of them to really look at some of these blogs where they could get those things. So it's really good if we educate students to begin to look at some of these routes because, for example, passing through the Italian process really shaped me a lot because the Italians, the Germans, they have this attitude towards work. Like they are very focused. Like how do I put it? Do I say workaholic? They work a lot, and and all that. It's only maybe weekends that you will see people really relaxing, but the week is always working, working. Like my supervisor, then I wondered the kind of energy he had because he was always on my neck. We don't have to play. We just have to get this out. So there was this focused mindset that even when I came to the UK, it was still I carried that mentality. Sometimes my line manager here will have to tell me and say, you should take a rest and cool off your head. And then I will just laugh because I learned. So moving around this country also helped me to shape my personality and also my mindset. So sometimes, for example, I could sit and walk till maybe 12 a.m. in the night and before I take my rest and all that. But I don't feel overwhelmed because really, since I'm doing something that I'm passionate about, it's easy for me to fit into. So I would advise students to really look at some of this direction, and these things could open up for them because you could imagine in some of these places, you may be the only person applying from Africa. Like when I got to my university, Scholar Normale, I was the only African then in my set. We were 11 or so, and I was the only African. And then in the whole of the school, we were only two that as of that time. But the other guy, when I was coming, he was almost leaving. So you could imagine, as large as the African continent is, we had this underrepresentation. So most of the school in Italy, they are happy to, have African students come on board. So it's high time the African students should try to look at some of these nations where they could easily access those things and don't just sit and say, you don't know anyone, no, you just have to try out. So just like with his Monday and Zek highlighted, networking is very, very important. So if there is any thing I've learned in this our discussion is that networking is a key factor. You have to make sure you keep this network of people. Don't just discard your classmates, your classmates, your friends, your lecturers, people that you have shared one or two bonds with them. Don't say you don't need them. You need everybody. Like I said, human being thrive more in community. So we will try in as much as possible to be holding this kind of section where we could reach out to people. And also I know of some of my friends also that are doing very, very well. I know some that had gotten like 5 or even up to how many scholarships. So I will try to be inviting them so they could also come to tell us about their experiences. Some of them have traveled nations, like he said. So it's good we could hear their stories and we could learn from them. So I think with that, okay, I think I see John raised his hand. John had a question, and then I will answer the question raised by Benjamin. Then we'll go to the handout section. So, John, what's your question?
Okay. The aspect of proposal writing for scholarship, is there a particular format? Is there a particular recommended format one should use? That is number one.
Okay.
If there is there a particular site that one can go to look at prior work done by other persons? Or how do we go about that? Because I think that aspect of motivation and proposal is very key.
Yes, I agree with you. Let me ask Zach or Monday, which of you wants to take the question? Then I could add.
Maybe Zach should do, because I only wrote one time.
Yes, yes. Zach, can you help us out? I think we have lost Zach, or he's talking and he's mute or something.
Yes. What's the question again? Sorry, I didn't get the question fully.
Okay, so John is asking if there is any particular format to write a proposal and also motivation letter for scholarships, because he said, is there any sort of like a site where you could look up to check some of the prior work that have been done and to see how they are written their own, sort of like a guide to write a strong proposal?
Well, in terms of site, well, for me, I didn't actually look at any site. I actually did work with some of my colleagues that have applied before me. So I actually used some of their samples for mine. I don't know maybe if there was any site. Yeah. But I'm sure there will be sites definitely for it.
Yes.
But yeah, definitely.
Yes. So there are sites to search this. Maybe with time pull up some of those sites. I can't really point them out specifically, but I think the point Zach make is very, very important. If you know someone that there is the proverb. I think it's more of a Nigerian proverb that say what you are looking in Sokoto is not in your Sokoto.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you know someone that have already done this thing and they are doing very well, and this is some of the areas you want to also go into, feel free to reach out to them. And I believe they should have samples that they use, that they have not discarded them. Then secondly, most of the time, like I said, in the scholarship advert, there are key areas that will be advertised. So you could look at that area to draft your proposal. Then there are also in other cases where you could informally, reach out to the lecturer, do some search, do some sort of random search about the school, and then look at the profile of the professors that are in that university. Then once you see someone that aligns with your area of interest, you can drop an informal letter, email to them. Sometimes the email may go into spam because of scam stuff, but sometimes the email could go through. You could drop an email to them to say, "No, I see what you're doing and I have interest in this scholarship. I would really like to work with you. Can you, in your spare time, create maybe a few minutes of your time? Let's discuss some of the things you are doing and some of the things you are looking at." So, and there are some scholarships, especially in PhD, they will specifically quote the name of the professor on it. So you can pick that professor's name, search the kind of research that professor is doing, look at the kind of articles that person has produced before now. I remember when I had my postdoc interview, prior to that period, I looked up to the profile of my line manager. So when I discovered it was really something I'm passionate about, I want to further my career, I went and looked at her publications, some of the things she's doing, and I noticed it's actually what I'm doing. And I tell you, during the interview, there was this chemistry because I already, had a proud exposure to some of what she was doing, and I really wanted to demonstrate to her that this is the area I also want to go into. And most of the time, even my mentors here, I always run to them, look at some of what they have done, look at the processes they have gone through, and then I try to also not to copy that exact thing they have done, but to replicate it to help me, guide my own, because everybody is unique in his making. So my advice to you is that to write those things, look to reach out to people again that are doing well in this area. They will help you to shape this thing. And even if they don't give you the ones they have written, you can send it to them and say, please, can you take a look at this for me and help me to critique it? Something like be open to criticism, because one of the things people don't like is criticism. In my department here, once we are writing for any grant, they put out for internal review, and your colleagues will now review it and critique it for you. You don't have to take some of these things personal, but you take it and say you don't know everything, and you're in the process of knowing. So reach out to them; they can help you to act as reviewers to some of those letters, and it will help you to shape it. Then back to the question of Benjamin. I know we are losing time, but thank you for for the patience. Let me just look at his question. He said earlier on that if he would like to know how best he can approach a data science and machine learning master degree program, because he's currently pursuing an undergraduate in economics and statistics. Again, okay, I'm sure the name is Benjamin. Benjamin, I'm very sure you are actually on the right track. So, data science, machine learning, all these approaches, it aligns perfectly with what you are doing. So, probably my advice to you at the end of your undergraduate, look at where you are interested in, the areas you want to do your research. What are the kind of areas you really want to focus your research on? Let's say, for example, you want to really apply statistics in areas of probably econometric models, in areas that has to do with probably stock predictions or something. That's very good points for you to build from there as you prepare for your master's program. But naturally, data science, AI, statistics is a strong factor, because if you have the knowledge of statistics, of course, it helps you in developing your models and also be able to interpret and make good inference. So I would say you are really on track. One of the thing you need to do is to try to graduate very well. If you have it in your power to make a 2-1, try to make a 2-1. Keep working towards it to make sure that you graduate very, very well. Don't relax in trying to build your career. But meanwhile, while you are still in your undergraduate, start looking at textbooks and materials of YouTube videos on data science, machine learning, big data, AI, and all that. When you start that, and I'm going to give you an example with myself. So in 2017, when I started preparing for my master project, that was when I got interested in AI. So the moment I got interested in AI, I started watching videos to know what this AI was all about. Because before now, that time, I used to think that AI was more of a computer science stuff. It doesn't have to with statistics and all that. But then when I started watching and reading textbooks, I now noticed that, AI have branches called machine learning, and machine learning is almost powered by statistical models. So the moment I thought that it was aligning with what I wanted, I quickly switched sides from going into core statistics to more of the applied statistics. Then what did I do? I picked up a topic on how I could apply a machine learning model called support vector in area of modeling food security. So the moment I was doing that project, it makes me to read more, because that's where I was doing my project. So I started digging more on that area. So by the time I was still doing my project, I went also to do like a 3 month course with IBM on big data. So during that period, I was introduced to things like Hadoop, MapReduce, virtual computing, and so on and so forth. So that gave me that more insights that, oh, there is this data that cannot fit into my computer, that I have to use things like clusters to be able to manage it. So by the time I was finishing my master's, I already know perfectly well that this is the area I want to continue my research career in. So you have to start early by looking up to some of these videos, and also go in when you are on platforms like LinkedIn. Follow people that are working in that area. One notable person that is like an authority in area of machine learning AI. I think Andy Hens or something. I'll look for his name and put on the platform. He's a notable person in the area of data statistics, machine learning, AI. He puts a lot of videos. He's from Stanford University. I follow him. I also follow some top experts in the areas that of AI and data science. So I read their updates. I check out some of the links they put. I read out some of the articles they have published, and stuff like that. Then also, like I said, subscribe to some of those video and platforms on YouTube, so you could always get notification on some of the latest things. Like if you know what is happening right now, you will know that we are really backward in this class because large language model is everywhere. So now we are all talking about generative AI. So there is a shift from the traditional AI machine learning stuff that we were doing sometime back to 2020. Now everybody is focusing on more of natural language processing, large language model, and all that. So it's good you start early, start putting yourself by looking at some of these platforms, then you get yourself prepared for the future. So I think with that, I hope I answered your question. And I'm also available for mentoring, of course. So you can always reach out to me and I could always be helping to guide you, of course. So with that, I think we come to the end of the section.